Welcome to this latest edition of the Ril Dil Podcast on this 3rd of September 2019. I'm your host, Ril Gerald Quinn, discussing the world of sports and pop culture. This podcast is sponsored by Randy's Soul and Spirit Cuisine. Excuse me. Um, I don't buy just anybody's food. I don't taste just anybody's food. I'm a very picky eater. Later on in this podcast, I'll explain to you how that can go wrong. But I can vouch for one, Randy Harper and his soul cuisine. I had the chicken wing, I had the fried chicken wings with a side mac and cheese and some greens, and it was delicious. Loved it. Recommend it to you and yours. Certainly worth the money. And listen, there's nothing like good food. It's nothing like good food. Randy, good friend of mine, doing this thing out here. Again, Randy's Soul and Spirit Cuisine. You can check out. I'll post the link up or post this page up on my Instagram so you can check it out. Again, recommended. Excellent food. That is our sponsor for this edition of the Real Deal Podcast. U.S. Open action tonight. Um, Federer and Serena Williams will both be in action. Serena's actually playing right as we speak. She's up. She was up last time I checked, 6-1 and one love. Listen, there have been a lot of big players knocked out of this tournament, and it seems right now it's looking like Serena's, Federer's, and Nadal's tournament to lose. And we might just finally get that Nadal Federer U.S. Open final that has eluded us throughout the course of those two guys' legendary careers. They have never met at the U.S. Open, let alone in the final. If they were to meet in this U.S. Open, it would actually happen in the final. Federer is seeking another major. Nadal, of course, seeking the inch closer to Roger Federer. Right now, Federer is at 20. Nadal is at 18. Tough break for Novak Djokovic. No, listen, I love Djokovic. Djokovic always was not a likable tennis player over the course of his career. He had times where he would pout. He had times where he physically would break down, and you would question his heart. He really has turned it around. Again, right now, I feel like the third or fourth greatest tennis player of all time. Unfortunately, he couldn't finish the tournament. Lost to Wawrinka, who's always dangerous, and Wawrinka ended up getting picked off the round after. But tough break for him with the shoulder injury, but it opens it up for the likes of Roger Federer and also Rafael Nadal. Federer was scheduled to meet Djokovic in the semifinals, so it really opens up the draw for Federer. Federer has been playing great. Got off to a shaky start in the first two rounds. Dropping the opening set in both those rounds. But ever since that, he's been rolling. He just destroyed Goffkin a couple of days ago on Sunday. I believe it was on let's say Tuesday. It was on Sunday where he just absolutely manhandled him. It seems like he's back on his game. Nadal probably was the one of the odds-on favorites after Djokovic, a very close second. He's been rolling. I don't believe Nadal maybe has dropped one set or two sets in this tournament, but he really has been in control. So you got some juice with the U.S. Open, despite no Coco, no Osaka. Still have Serena, Federer, and Nadal, three legends, and hopefully those three will be in the finals come this weekend. Of course, we are just 2 days shy, 2 nights shy of the NFL season opening, the 100th season of NFL football. Will open at Chicago Soldier Field with the Bears hosting their longtime rivals, the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers is going to play. There's no question about that. That he'll play. I know he's had some issues. They've held him out for preseason. Really, at the age in his career, there's no reason to play him in the preseason. A lot of these teams are just that is a protest that teams are doing against the NFL. They're just holding guys out, especially the quarterbacks, just out of the entire preseason for the most part. So, and a lot of these players are, a lot of these starters, especially these name players, are just not playing. So that is one. That's something to look for in the future, whether or not how that impacts the league on cutting down these preseason games. Of course, we all know what the league wants to do. The league wants to say, "Hey, we'll take 2 games out the preseason if we can add 2 games to the regular season." So that would be the dream scenario for the league. They don't care about shaving off 2 games of the regular season of the preseason if they can add 2 games of the preseason to the regular season. They want in the worst way an 18 game season. Ezekiel Elliott is expected to sign a contract very soon. It could happen before the night is over. I mean, it can definitely happen at any time now that he will sign a contract. Now, listen, some of these numbers that have been floated around, 6 years, you've seen 6 years, $90 million. Um, I'm tell you right now, Serena won 6 love. I'm sure most of you have been watching that, know that right now. We don't know that, but just in case for many of my listening audience who are watching my podcast live on my YouTube channel, Serena, of course, 6-1, 6 love. So she will be moving on to the semifinals, and again, this will be one of her best chances to win major number 24. She has played well. Got nicked up a little bit, but right now seems to be on top of her game. So we'll see if she can finally close the deal for another major at the age of what, 38, 37, 38, which would be just remarkable, even for somebody who has accomplished as much as she has over the course of her legendary, iconic career. In regards to the NFL, Ezekiel Elliott is expected to sign any day now. It could happen before tonight ends. Some of the numbers have been floated around: 6 years, $90 million, $15 million a year, which would make him the highest paid running back in the game. 90 million would exceed Adrian Peterson's contract that he signed back in 2011. He signed a 6 year, $86 million deal. Adrian Peterson is the only running back in the NFL history to make over $100 million in terms of total salary. Listen, I think the Cowboys are just completely jumping the gun here with Elliott. They have all the leverage. He has 2 years remaining on his deal. Number one, and number two, you have not signed your quarterback. So to me, I don't understand how Dak Prescott is not the number one priority for the Dallas Cowboys for the Dallas Cowboys in terms of who they should sign. I mean, to me, it would be Prescott. I would even go Amari Cooper before I went Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott, I've seen Murray behind that offensive line run for over 1,800 yards. I've seen that. I've seen that movie. So again, I don't. If you want to make him the highest paid running back in the league, by all means do it. We know how franchises can become creative with the cap. Um, those numbers again, I would have to see the total contract in terms of the key number is guaranteed money. The signing bonus and total guaranteed money. That's a key number. Not even the years, not even the 90 million total. The guarantee, I have to see. That's why I don't necessarily um, don't want to get too jump the gun too much on this contract. We know how NFL contracts work. You have to really look at the fine detail and really break down those numbers in terms of total money guaranteed and signing bonus. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. But I think it's a mistake that the Cowboys are prioritizing Ezekiel Elliott over Dak Prescott. I just think that's just a mistake, considering that again, Prescott's deal is up after this year. Ezekiel Elliott has 2 years left on this deal, and you know, you think about how many non quarterbacks over the last decade have really impacted winning and losing in the NFL. I mean, it's really you can really name about 5 or 6. Like Joe Thomas is an all-time great offensive lineman on Cleveland. How many playoff games did he play in with Cleveland? Maybe I don't think he played in any. If he may have played in one, I think back in '02, that year in '02 where Cleveland made the playoffs and lost Um, Lost his wild game to Pittsburgh when Tommy Maddox was quarterbacking in the 02 season. And that was a long time ago. I mean, we're talking like 2002 season, 2002 or 2003 season. He might have played one playoff game. Again, this guy was an all-time great at his position. I mean, you look again, 9 quarterbacks who have had an impact on the game in terms of winning and losing. Aaron Donald, you put on that list. Von Miller, you put on that list. Darrell Revis in his prime, you put on that list. Over the last decade, maybe you know towards the end of maybe that was the latter part of Champ Bailey's prime, 2010ish, '09, 2010. That list is very short of 9 quarterbacks who have impacted winning and losing. And you're signing again. The Cowboys are going to treat Gale Elliott like he's one of those guys. He's not one of those guys. He's not. A lot of moves in the NFL, in particular by the Houston Texans. They trade Javadian Clowney for a third round pick and 2 players. Miami, Clowney goes to Seattle. Miami also they also trade for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. Now they give up 2 first round picks and a second round pick. And it will affect their draft over the course of 2020 and 2021. I have no problem with Miami's doing. You want to call Miami, say Miami's tanking, fine. They're tanking. Like they have no, they're like they either you are trying to win it, either you're trying to win, or you're rebuilding. There's no in between in any. There's no in between in sports, especially the NFL, when you don't have a quarterback. So they're clearly playing for 2020, 2021, which is fine. Stack these picks. They can get Tuga possibly, maybe even Trevor Lawrence in 2021, depending if they don't get Tuga next year. But I love what Miami's doing. I have no problem with what Miami's doing. Houston, on the other hand, is coming off to me like a team that is desperate and just throwing darts at this point. You're giving up those amount of assets. Again, I don't have a problem, but I think they probably could at least got a second round pick for Javadian Clowney. Like I maybe try to get a first, but at least a second. I think a guy 26 years old who still has a lot left in the tank, and to me can be a top player at his position. It can be a all pro caliber player is worth more than a third round pick and 2 average players. He's worth more than that. But to me, I think it was a situation where they just wanted to get him out, wanted to get him out of the building. They knew that just wasn't willing to pay what market value, which is fine if you're going to get some good picks for him. That was not enough to get for him. Laramie Tunsil, they've said is a top 5 player at his position. Okay, Kenny Stills, pretty good receiver, not great by any stretch of imagination. To me, not a difference maker, but decent receiver. You want to say slightly above average? Okay, slightly above, maybe slightly above average. But again, when you make moves, when you give up multiple draft picks, you're telling me we're going to be contend for the Super Bowl next year. This is not a Super Bowl contender. Even with no Andrew Luck in the division, they're not a Super Bowl contender in the AFC. Okay, and again, I look at the team. I think they'll be somewhere between 7-9 and 9-7. They'll be right in that middle, fighting for a playoff spot. Maybe they can win the division. Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if they won that division. That division, now that Indianapolis is out of the mix, I don't have any confidence that Jacoby Brissett is going to be able to adequately fill the shoes of one Andrew Luck. So let's say that division is up for grabs. You still have New England, Kansas City. They're not on that level of those 2 teams. I don't think they're as good as Pittsburgh. I haven't. I don't think they're as good as San Diego, even with some of the injuries that San Diego has right now. Um, again, you make moves like this, you're telling me we're going to the Super Bowl next year, or we're taking our chances to be a Super Bowl contender, to where this puts us in a position where we contend for the Super Bowl. Toronto in the NBA made a move to trade away an All Star They got back a superstar in return. They won a championship. Even if they wouldn't have won a championship, it was worth the risk. Even if it was worth him, even if he was going to leave, which of course Kawhi Leonard turned out to do. That is a calculated risk that you take 10 out of 10 times. This risk right here, this the risk that the Houston Texans are taking. To me, when you start giving up assets and draft picks are more valuable in the NFL than in any other sport because a draft pick, yeah, you can have a first round, a second round pick can immediately turn around your franchise if it's the right pick. So they have no capital or assets moving forward to add to their team or to build or fill up spots that they need that will have holes in coming come 2020 2021. And again, when you make a move like this, to me, it's like Super Bowl or bust. The Super Bowl or bust. This was a desperate move that to me smelt of just pure panic. And again, out of the three teams that were involved with these deals, I think Seattle won because they got the best player. I completely understand what Miami is doing. They got all the assets, and to me, by far and away, Houston is last because they gave away assets, and these players these incoming players don't put them over the top as far as competing for an AFC championship. Melvin Gordon has basically threatened to hold out if he doesn't get a new contract. San Diego's like, okay, we're good. We'll get our other two running backs ready, and get going for the season. These running listen, what you have to understand about these running backs is they, a Melvin Gordon, a Le'Veon Bell, they see what type of money that the other players are getting, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and they take the majority out of all the offensive players in terms of skill position players. They take the most pounding. I look at Melvin Gordon for his career. I see very good player. I don't see a game changing player. I don't see a guy who I will even come close to paying Ezekiel Elliott or Todd Gurley or even David Johnson type money to Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon has had one Pro Bowl All Pro Cowboy year in his entire career. His entire career. He's entering his fifth year. He's already been nicked up, has some injury issues. I'm not giving that guy uh, a king's ransom of cash. So I have no what San Diego's doing. I have absolutely no problem with right now. They have other players. They have other needs. Melvin Gordon again is a very good player, but am I breaking the bank for Melvin Gordon based off 1 year of production? No. What San Diego's going to do if they can get the right deal for him, they'll move him, but they're not going to force a deal. They'll negotiate at the end of the season. If he chooses not to go back, not to go sign with him, they'll just draft a running back. It's just that simple. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a formula in the NFL in terms of dealing with running backs. You draft a running back out of college, you get 3 or 4 fresh years out of that guy let's say from ages 21 to 25 or 22 to 26, and then you move on to the next running back who either off the free agent market who's bounced around, veteran, or you just draft another running back. You don't pay running backs. I don't care who they are. You don't pay them. Like I'm not giving a running back. I'm not paying a running back Le'Veon Bell money. I'm not paying a running back Todd Gurley money. I'm not paying a running back what what Ezekiel is going to get. Those days are done in the NFL, or they should be done. Like it's just not going to happen. It's a position that could just be easily replaced. I'm giving money to obviously to the quarterback, your offensive line, pass rushers, safeties, corners. Those are the positions you pay for. that you pay buku money to. Running back does not fall into that category at all. So I think that San Diego's taken the way that it's taken the way that Dallas the, is doing what Dallas should be doing. They are not going to give Melvin Gordon will not be a San Diego Charger unless he swallows his pride and suits up. They will not. San Diego Chargers is not going to give Melvin Gordon a new deal this year. Now, if he's willing, now, and I doubt that if he sits out the entire year, that he'll just become an outright free agent. I don't even think that they will franchise him, to be honest with you. So we'll see what happens with that. As far as the college football goes, a whole hum weekend of college football. Not impressed with no. I wasn't impressed with Notre Dame at all last night. I mean, Louisville had a good, billion turnovers. They couldn't, could not hold on to the football. Had 5 or 6 fumbles. Um, Notre Dame did what they had to do, ran the ball well. I think Notre Dame is. I don't think Notre Dame was a playoff team this year. I think they'll lose. They'll lose at least 2 games before we get to that point. I definitely think they're going to lose to Georgia, and another game outside of that. I definitely think Georgia is going to be a loss. But I wasn't impressed with Notre Dame at all. Jalen Hurts put on a show against Houston, a bad Houston defense, by the way. Let's keep that in mind. But a lot of question marks have been going on about Jalen Hurts and fitting in that offense, and did he had the arm strength or did he had the arm talent? Remember, Jalen Hurts got recruited. Who Jalen Hurts was recruited by? He was 26-2 at Alabama, played in a couple of championships. You know, was responsible for Alabama when Tuka Valuva got hurt last year in terms of winning the SEC championship over Georgia. Let's not forget about that. This guy was built to play college football with the athleticism, some of the throws that he can make. Now again, I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts is a guy who will play at the next level, will be a franchise guy. He'll get drafted. He'll be one of those guys that get drafted. He's a 4th or 5th round pick in the NFL. But he'll play in the league. But there's no question to me if you surround him with the amount of skilled players that Alabama or that Oklahoma has. Oklahoma gets great offensive linemen, they get great receivers, great running backs. Lincoln Riley, of course, is a tremendous college offensive mind. And there was no question that they were going to be able to they're going to put some points on the board, and that he was going to fit into their system, or have his skill set, or have his skill set, accelerated by one Lincoln Riley. The guy was recruited by Alabama. That should tell you all you need to know. And it just so happens it's not what he didn't do at Alabama. It's just the fact that the guy who beat him out in Tuka Valuva will be the #1 pick in the draft this year in 2020. The guy that beat him out is great. Like Tuka Valuva is going to be projected to be a franchise caliber NFL quarterback. It's going to be the #1 pick. So it wasn't about Jalen Hurts. What Jalen Hurts did not do, it was about that the other guy was just that much better. Just like Kelly Bryant, who's now with I think he's with Missouri now, or Wyoming, Missouri. I think he's with Missouri. Kelly Bryant played well for Clemson. Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent. He's a generational talent. There's no question about it. So, you know, sometimes the other guy is better, and those guys chose to move on, chose to transfer, and those guys are both Bryant and Hurts will have great years moving forward. This year, I expect them both to put up big numbers. Hurts will have Oklahoma in the conversation for a playoff berth, without question. Couple big matchups coming up this Saturday in regards to college football. You have LSU. You have Texas. You have a great doubleheader, LSU and Texas. You have Texas A&M at Clemson. You already hear Texas A&M running their mouth, which is not the smartest thing. So you'll have a great doubleheader. Um, as a Florida State fan, I just don't know what to say right now in terms of where that program is at. They are roughly a program that if you rooted for Florida State, and I have been rooting for Florida State for anywhere well over 20 years, maybe probably even longer. There's no way that that team, with still top recruits, they've had top recruiting classes. Even last year you want to say they were 11th. This year they were 11th. One year 21st. The previous year they was like fourth. So there's talent on that team. There's no question about it. There's talent on that team. They allow a freshman quarterback to come in and throw all over them, and especially in the second half. They blow an 18-point lead. They were up 31-13 at one point at home. There were thousands upon thousands of empty seats in that building, in Doak Campbell Stadium, Bobby Baldwin Field, whatever you want to call it. It is an embarrassment to that program, that once proud program that at one point, at one time, was you know, the cream of the crop of college football. I mean, we can talk about when Bobby Bowden was there. He had the consecutive top five streak, or even Jimbo Fisher had a stretch where they were like 59-9, made the playoffs a couple times, a number of 10-win seasons, were running the ACC before Clemson ascended. Where that program right now is a complete embarrassment, and again, there's no right now. I think really, they suffer another losing season. I think Taggart's going to lose his job. Um, don't tell me you can't win at with that program. You're talking about Florida. You're talking about one of the great recruiting bases, one of the great areas to recruit college football in the country. If you recruit the state alone, you will get top. You will be one of you should be a top 15, top 10 team year in year out, just on recruiting alone. So right now that program is a disaster. Um, and again, there's no end in sight as far as turning it around. Taggart is not gonna like it's not gonna happen with Taggart. It's just not. Uh, so I see him getting fired at the end of this year. They'll have another lose this season, and then again, that is to me is still a top job. Now, Jimbo Fisher took a boatload of money from Texas A&M. They also had complaints. He also was crying out, walking out the door about facilities. You cannot play. Right now, they are with the ACC network. There's no way, there's no way in the world that you can have someone that facilities should be in question at Florida State. It just should that should not be a question. They should have the best of the best in terms of facilities. They are with the ACC. They're going with the ACC network now. That should not be in question whatsoever. Again, that was one of the complaints of why Jimbo Fisher left. Now, again, it was about the money that Texas A&M gave him that Florida State was not going to give him. Let's be honest about that. And plus, Jimbo Fisher had won a championship at Florida State, so there was nothing left for him to do. So I understand why he left. I had no problem with Jimbo Fisher leaving to go to Texas A&M. Texas A&M, just the SEC. You're talking about recruiting the state of Texas. Texas A&M will be, I think, a playoff contender this year. Looking forward to seeing what they do against Clemson at Death Valley. But I had zero problem with Jimbo Fisher leaving, but Florida State should not be in this current predicament. There's no way they should be like unranked and just hard, just difficult to watch. Speaking of difficult to watch, the second episode of Power maybe was slightly better than the first. The first was just god awful. Right now, it's on pace through the first two episodes to be the worst. This is on pace to be the worst season of Power by far, by far. Now, see, episode three, Dre is supposed to be coming. Dre is supposed to be in the mix. It seems like you're gonna get a little action. I think 50 Cent directed this episode, so we'll see. We'll see if Dre's performance or if Dre's appearance can spark up can add some just a shot of adrenaline to power right now. Right now, just it's been terrible. Again, this is coming from somebody who has defended power to no end, called it the greatest guilty pleasure show of all time, one of the best summer shows I've ever seen. Again, putting aside the big the show like Breaking Bad and even Mad Men, I'm not even counting those shows, but in terms of just pure entertainment, pure guilty pleasure television watching. Right now, it's been terrible. It's been a bad 2 episodes. That's all there is to it. I cannot defend this show right now. I just can't defend it. Um, I don't even want to get into the plot lines because, frankly, they're all over the place. It is all over the place. I mean, I want to get into Tyreek with his hustle. What Kanan left. Kanan, he's turned into Kanan and Ghost at the same time. But again, the Tommy Ghost Tasha thing is just I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Ghost. Somebody made a point, and I agree with them. It seems like they're gonna force Ghost to become Ghost again. Like he's gonna get painted into a corner to where he's gonna have to go back to drug dealing. He's gonna have to go back to just being this cold-blooded, calculated, 3 moves ahead killer. So the nightclub owner, the whole, this, Jason pitting Ghost and Tommy, using both Ghost and Tommy. I don't. Yeah, come on. It's just not. I'm telling you, they miss Kanan. They absolutely miss Kanan. There's no ways about it. They miss Kanan. I like a Lobos. They miss Lobos. I mean, even Milan. Milan was okay as a villain, but Lobos was probably the best villain on the show throughout the 6 seasons. So there's certain characters that they just have not been able to replace. I don't think they've been able to replace Holly, to be honest with you, adequately. I mean, Lala's a horrible actress. Um, the Rashad Tate character does fascinate me. I will admit, there's more to Rashad Tate than just a dirty politician. There's something with. I just think he had some neighborhood ties that we're not, privy to right now. The one thing I've heard, and don't buy this for a second, if you think that Tyreek is going to be leading the show after the 15 episodes, you're out of your mind. There's no way in the world that they're going to kill Ghost and Tyreek, Michael Rainey Jr. is going to be the lead of Power Book 2. It's just not going to happen. Ghost is what James Gandolfini was in Sopranos. Uh, you know, Bryan Cranston was in Breaking Bad. The show does not move without Omari Hardwick. Ghost. It is not. They don't have a show. He is the center of the show. They will not do it. There's no power without that character. So I can see Tyreek making it through the season and making it to the spinoff that's coming up. That's supposed to take place 48 hours after the last episode 15, which is going to be probably in January or February of 2020. But there's no way that Michael Rainey Jr. is going to lead the spinoff. This is not going to happen. He may be a part of it, but he's not going to be the central character of that. So, a lot of people there are people that are thinking that Omar that they're going to kill Ghost. They're not going to kill Ghost before the spinoff. That's just not going to happen at all. They may kill Tommy before the spinoff. They may kill Tasha before the spinoff. They're not going to kill the character of Ghost. This show is centered around that character. Rillo's rant for the week. I know it's been a couple podcasts, a couple episodes since I had a Rillo's rant, but this one just stood out. I'm sure you've heard it. A British team has lost a lot of his vision and part of his hearing due to a diet of of chips and fries. I'm gonna repeat it. I'm gonna repeat that. A British teenager, has lost a lot of it, most of his vision and part of his hearing, and have had trouble hearing because of a constant diet of fish, excuse me, of fries and chips. Apparently, he's refused to eat certain foods with certain textures. This is where this is a pure example to me of child abuse and child neglect. I already know what type of parent he has. He has a type of parent that allows him to make all of his choices. He's the type of parent that wants to be his friend. I already know what type of parent he has. He has a parent that probably was coming in when he was in second grade and probably wiping his mouth after snack time. That's the type of parent he probably has. And when you are that type of parent, this is what happens. This guy, this guy is a teenager, 16, 17 years old, can barely see and has trouble hearing because of his diet. That's how bad his diet is. Now we know kids, teenagers can basically eat anything they want to a certain extent with the fast food. But you gotta mix in a couple vegetables and a couple of home cooked meals with that. Maybe not McDonald's every 5 nights a week. Maybe you want to do the McDonald's or the fast food 2 nights a week. Maybe 2 nights a week, three at the most. But two is to me that baseline. Two is where you would start getting concerned once it gets beyond that. And then you want to throw in a couple of home cooked meals, maybe. I mean, Postmates, and I mean there you can order Uber. Uber Eats has some healthy meals you can order. So you have meal preps that are healthy. But again, this is what happens if you have a parent that allows a kid to make all the child's friend. I already know. I don't have to be in the household to know what's going on. I don't. So again, hopefully, again, this is going to take. I don't know what it's going to have to happen for this kid to get his vision back. Besides a change of diet, I don't know. It might even be too late. Like it might be too late. This kid might be shedding all time high in terms of you have to be one of the worst eating. I mean, that has to be. I mean, it has to be some horrible eating. Again, it starts with the parents. Starts with the parents. It's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. As always, this podcast will be streaming live on the YouTube channel. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, apple.itunes.com, Real Deal Podcast. We'll be also on Blog Talk Radio in a couple of hours once this podcast has stopped streaming. This is the Real Deal Podcast, Season 12. Surreal Joe Quinn. I'm out.